With that, we are thrilled to welcome back our fantasy expert. It is Dave Richard of CBS, who is here to give us some fantasy tips and advice to help you win your fantasy football league this year. Dave, how you doing? Long time no see.
Long time no see, guys, and you are catching up with me at just the right time because the big fantasy drafts, the ones that matter to everybody all over the world, they're going to start happening now. The preseason's over. We're 9 days away from the first game of the regular season, so a lot of fantasy drafts kicking into high gear. Hope you're ready.
Dave, I love your background this year. You got the old school fantasy magazines. You got the football cards. You're ready to go.
84 tops, baby. You see Elway and Marino over my shoulder?
How much are those worth? You going to sell them?
No, man. It's an uncut sheet of 84 tops football cards.
Everything has a price, Dave. I'm just,
Listen, if I can get some of that bull money, I'd be happy to. Let's say I'm taking offers, Bull. What you got?
Listen, I don't have that kind of money. I don't know what kind of money you think I'm making, but not to pay for that. I mean, that's a high value target right there. But it is cool though. I like that, and that was a great quarterback class, of course. Yeah,
absolutely. I got to see if there's any Browns on here though. I haven't looked for any.
Yeah, I know.
No,
Nothing.
Where are they?
That's a question. That's a question Browns fans have been asking for 40 years. Where are they? Where are they? But where they are now is pretty good. We think this is going to be.
You've heard of Clay Matthews, right? Hold on, I got to move the camera for this.
You got Clay Matthews?
Clay Matthews. Oh, like you can see this.
Yeah, we can't see it. All right.
He's right up there. 84 tops. Clay Matthews.
We all think he should be a Hall of Famer. He hasn't gotten in yet, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but. He should be in. Hey, Dave, let's start with the Browns from a fantasy perspective. I know more and more leagues. I think every league I'm in now does Superflex, which is essentially a 2-quarterback league. Deshaun Watson, who at one point was definitely a top 5 quarterback in fantasy in Houston, is no longer there. At this point, he's one of the most unpredictable quarterbacks, I think, in fantasy. Is he even a quarterback 2 at this point? Would you even trust him as your quarterback 2 right now?
Absolutely. I think there's no question that he can be in that role. I think as long as he's healthy, he's going to start. And so, that's the bottom of the barrel qualification to be a QB2 in a Superflex league is, are you going to start? Are you going to play? And not only should he start and play, but he should play fairly well. Yeah. And when I think about the Browns offense, I know that Nick Chubb out for at least the first 4 games, could be longer than that. We know that injury was just brutal last year. I think they need Deshaun Watson. I think that they need him to be the catalyst of the offense, for him to throw more. And certainly the receiving core improved from last year in Cleveland. So I'd venture to say I've got him as my 22nd ranked quarterback. And in a Superflex league, that's not a slight at all. I think you could actually get him in that type of format. We're talking like maybe round 6, 7, somewhere in there. 1 QB leagues, I don't know if you're drafting Deshaun Watson. There might be too many other quarterbacks that you'd rather have on your team to start the season. But if they stink, and I'm talking about guys like Goff, Matthew Stafford, Will Levis is a sleeper quarterback. If those guys stink, you're going to pivot to Deshaun Watson as one of the guys off the waiver wire that can end up being a starter for your team, because we know that he's got the upside for it. We know that at points last year, he looked very comfortable running this offense. I think he's going to need to run more of it for Cleveland to have a chance to go back to the playoffs this year.
Dave, depending on your league rules, Nick Chubb has been a staple of maybe the late first round if it's not a PPR, certainly a second or at the very least a third round pick for many years now. Obviously, he's coming off a serious injury. He's going to miss at least 4 games. Where are you comfortable drafting Nick Chubb, and where are you comfortable drafting Jerome Ford? Let's call it a PPR league with a traditional lineup.
We're talking round 10.
Okay.
And this goes hand in hand with what I just said. I think the Browns are probably going to throw more. That means they're going to run less. We know that we don't have Nick Chubb for at least the first 4 games of the year. That could turn into 5, 6 games. And then we don't know which version of Nick Chubb we're going to get when he comes back. I love thinking optimistically, and I think about Nick Chubb and the guy that has run roughshod over NFL defenses for years, and I want that guy to come back. there's just no guarantee of it that as soon as he comes back, he's going to immediately be that guy. I'm hoping the Browns take their time with him and ramp him up so that by the time that we get to around Thanksgiving, he's the old Nick Chubb. And so if you're a patient fantasy manager and you've got maybe 3 running backs already on your roster by the time that Chubb is available, that's when you take Chubb. But otherwise, I would probably stay away from Chubb because you don't want to be put in the spot where I need a roster spot and I need to cut somebody, or I need to trade somebody, and then you're trading Nick Chubb away for pennies on the dollar of what he could be. As far as pairing him up with Jerome Ford, that is an option. That's something that I did in one of my personal leagues, but I did that when Chubb was my 4th running back taken and Ford was my 5th running back taken.
Oh, wow.
And so in that type of a situation, boom, I've got both Browns running backs. I can play it out, but I also don't have to start either one of them to begin the season because they were so down on my list and I got them at really good values. If you can fall into that type of a situation, which I don't think you're going to be able to do in Cleveland area drafts, then it makes sense. But short of that, I might really wait and take a very cautious approach with the Browns RBs.
Dave, let me ask you, if I got the first pick in the draft, am I definitely taking CMC or should I take Tyreek Hill?
The first thing that you need to look
at
is
this ain't super flex either. This is not super.
No, right? Because you know that in a super flex, that's going to be.
People want to know. People want to know.
Do you have the first pick in the draft?
I don't. It's not going to be a quarterback, and it's not going to be a tight end. If it's full PPR, you could talk me into either Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb being at that pick. But think about what Christian McCaffrey can be, and then think about literally handing him off to somebody else in your fantasy league. So you're giving the next person up in the draft the chance to have that guy on your fantasy roster. And I can make the case against McCaffrey, but I can make the case against anybody. The bottom line is that there are very few players in fantasy who are not quarterbacks that have the same type of week-to-week upside that Christian McCaffrey has. And even if Trent Williams isn't there, I still like Christian McCaffrey to be utilized to his fullest. At 28 years of age, I think he can still come through. That is who I would take at number 1 overall. And just for the record, I would take Lamb in full PPR ahead of Tyreek Hill just based on his target volume. But those would be my top 3 picks. McCaffrey 1, Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill 3.
Man, I got to remember that.
Sticking with the receivers, Amari Cooper, where is he going in drafts? And marvelous Marvin Harrison. I just love Marv, but I don't know about rookies, and I don't trust Kyler Murray.
I think Maserati Marv is going to be rolling right away. I can't remember the last time there was a receiver this polished coming into the NFL. It might be Jamar Chase, and it might be A.J. Green before him. But Marvin Harrison, I mean, we all saw what he did at Ohio State, man. He's amazing. He can do everything. And I think the Cardinals are going to use him as such. And the track record of number 1 receivers with Kyler Murray, man, they get a lot of target volume. And I think that's what's going to happen for Harrison. And so fantasy managers have been very aggressive with him. He's got a round 2 ADP, but I'm even more aggressive. I'm willing to take him as a top 15 overall pick in full PPR. I think he would be worth taking 8th wide receiver off the board. I know that Puka Nacua was a hot commodity last year. I'm taking Harrison ahead of Nacua this year, just based on how the Rams are structured now. Cooper Kupp's back and all that. But Harrison to me is my number 8 wide receiver overall, someone who's worth taking as a top 15 type pick, like I'm saying. As for Cooper, he's just outside of my top 24. We checked on his ADP this morning before coming on. It is a round 5 pick. And I think that if you're getting him to be a low-end number 2 receiver, high-end number 3 receiver, he's probably worth it in that range. But I would not overvalue him because there is some target competition with Jerry Jeudy there. And then David Njoku, the way that he finished last season, how can the Browns move away from that? I know that with Watson, he hasn't been quite as productive for fantasy in the regular season, but I know in training camp this year, those two made a connection. And so I worry a little bit about just how much volume Amari Cooper is going to get from week to week. Could get 7 targets a game, but I think he's really on that fence of being a number 2, number 3 wide receiver in fantasy.
Dave, there's been a lot of smoke surrounding the quarterback 1 in fantasy. You know, usually for many years it's been Josh Allen, but with all of the trades and stuff going on, a lot of people are getting high on Anthony Richardson, and I want to know, where are you at with Anthony Richardson?
I see Richardson as a top 6 pick, but it's based totally on projection. Okay, we've seen like the equivalent of like 13 quarters, 14 quarters of football from Anthony Richardson, and a lot of it's really good in the regular season. But if you watch him in the preseason, inconsistent. And that's something that's going to be it's actually going to be a thing that you're going to have to accept with Anthony Richardson. So what do we know about him? Inconsistent with throwing the ball, but man, can he run. And I think the Colts are going to lean into that in a major way. That's something we didn't see a lot of in the preseason. We didn't see him run a ton. And why should we have? Save that for the regular season. But I think that Richardson does have upside to be the best quarterback in fantasy if he plays 17 games, if he's running for at least 40 yards and a touchdown every single week, which honestly, I think that's absolutely within his range. And then what does he have to do as a passer? Maybe 22 passing touchdowns over the course of a season, maybe get north of 3,000 passing yards. We're not asking a lot, but we are asking for him to do a ton more with his legs to help balance out what he misses out on as a thrower. And the other thing that I'll say that is in his favor, the offensive line is good in Indianapolis, and the Colts added a lot of good targets to that receiving core. Adonai Mitchell, chief among them. They'll get Josh Downs back. Of course, Michael Pittman's there. I think it'll help him. I think that he'll have a chance to really come through and be worth taking as the sixth quarterback off the board in fantasy. As an example, I would take him ahead of Joe Burrow, which sounds silly when you think about it, because Burrow is just a better quarterback, and he's got probably two better wide receivers than anybody Richardson has, but he doesn't run like Anthony Richardson. That's a cheat code in fantasy.
Dave, I stunned the fantasy community in a brand new startup dynasty league, Superflex. It was
okay.
Superflex. When I did not take Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts first overall, I took Patrick Mahomes, even though he's not a big runner, just because I decided in the end he's going to be better for longer, and he's not injury prone like some of these other guys. Did I blow it?
No, I get where you're coming from on that. Here's the question, and I'm sure this is what helped make that decision for you. How often do you, or how many more years rather, do you see Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts running for as many yards and touchdowns as they have been? 2 more years, 3 more years? Are they really going to do this for 5+ more seasons?
Exactly.
Probably not. Whereas Mahomes, you know what he is, and you know that he'll run a little bit too. He'll get some rushing touchdowns on top of all the passing yardage that he'll get.
Right.
And for a long time this offseason, Mahomes was my number 1 QB in redraft. You think about Josh Allen losing Diggs and Gabe Davis. You think about Jalen Hurts getting Saquon Barkley as a backfield mate and losing Jason Kelce. And you go, well, what happened to Patrick Mahomes? Oh, they signed Marquise Brown and they drafted Xavier Worthy. And there's a chance that they could use Worthy like Tyreek Hill, and that would be amazing. Yeah. So he got a better receiving core without losing anything significant. It wouldn't surprise me if this was one of Patrick Mahomes' best seasons passing. Agreed. Compared to everybody else in the league. He might throw for more yards than anybody, might throw for more touchdowns than everybody, maybe even gets 50 by the time this season's over. So he's got the highest upside as a thrower. You just have to hope that that's enough to get him past all these other rushing quarterbacks. For me, I came around on Jalen Hurts. I've bought into what I've heard from training camp. Apparently, he's just been crushing it in training camp. And there's going to be some tweaks made to that Philadelphia offense that could make him really an outstanding passer himself. And so I've got Hurts ahead of Mahomes, but both of them ahead of Josh Allen.
Mike's got one to wrap it up, but real quick, speaking of the Chiefs, has Travis Kelce finally lost the top spot to Sam Laporta at tight end this year?
I would take Laporta first, but ADP says otherwise. We've seen Kelce go 10 spots higher than Laporta. It's been nuts how it's worked out. I would much rather have Laporta in round 3 than Kelce in round 2.
Agreed.
That's where Kelsey's been going. That seems like too much.
Mike, go ahead.
Dave, our draft is 1 week from today. Who is the guy in rounds 6 through 10 that I need to be targeting to make sure I take home the trophy this year? Who's your favorite sleeper in that mid-round range?
So I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I'm pulling up the names that are in round 6. And you only want one name? Is that it, Mikey?
Yeah, one. I don't want. Listen, if you give me more than one, then Tyvis is going to steal all of them. So give us one name so I can make sure I target him a little earlier than everyone else.
Okay. I'm going to give you the name of Terry McLaurin in Washington. I think he's finally got a quarterback that plays with poise and accuracy and can get him the ball at all 3 levels of the field. and he's going to be the number one target for sure. We've seen him get north of 7 targets per game. I think each of the last 4 years that's happened. Now he might be able to touch 8 targets per game. I've seen the Commanders in practice this preseason rather. He's looked great. Daniels looks good. I know Daniels will run a lot, but I think Daniels, when he throws, will be efficient, and McLaurin can have a career year.
Dave, great stuff, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Appreciate it.
Good luck in your draft next week to everybody
Thanks.
except Bull.